Big progress on the Detroit bankruptcy front tonight. The city made a deal this week with two banks on disastrous credit swaps to the tune of 30 cents on the dollar. But when you get these banks to agree, it could be the start of other creditors falling in line with the adjustment plan. How big of a deal is this, Nolan?
It's a big deal. I mean, it's the first. I mean, I believe Judge Rhodes will accept it this time. They squeezed about all they're going to squeeze out of these banks. They're
because this
taking
was the third time that they've come to some kind of agreement.
But now they're down. They're taking 70% loss. Now they have made a tremendous amount of money on this deal over the years, so don't feel sorry for them. But I think it's a deal that Rhodes is going to approve. Now you set up a scenario where if the court chooses, it can cram down this settlement on other creditors. And I think it's caught the attention. You saw the pensioners in mediation this week now talking about bargaining on cost of living increases rather than the reality that they're going to have to accept some cut in their monthly check. So I think it's starting to catch people's attention, wake people up.
Explain the cram down.
Well, I mean, the way that works in Chapter 9, as I understand it, is that if you get a certain number of creditors to agree to
a single class,
or a single creditor in a class, right?
No, it's got to be. I think
it's
got
to be the class. Then to agree to the plan that they've worked out with the city or a settlement, the judge can then force that deal on everybody else. I'm wondering, though, in this case, I mean, the 30 cents on the dollar that UBS and Bank of America are getting is actually more
than the 20 cents on the dollar
that everyone else.
But he can my understanding is he can force the plan of adjustment on everyone else. And I
mean, the ballots went out to the creditors. I think this week or last week. Every creditor gets a ballot, essentially to say yay or nay on the plan of adjustment. I think if he gets a certain number of yes votes on that, he can use that to say this is the deal, everybody's taking it, and so then what we will see, I think, over the next couple of weeks is people coming to the table saying, all right, I want to get out in front of this and get the best deal I can before the worst gets forced down on everybody else.
And there's a huge incentive for the pension funds not to take a risk here. They suffer a lot less if they voluntarily sign on to this deal than if they have a deal forced on them and if they prolong the court fight. So I think you're going to see some movement. I hope you're going to see some movement in the right direction.
There's still a lot of pieces, too, here. I mean,
I was just going to say, it feels like this has been up and down, and Orr had vented his frustration just last week, and then now it could be totally shifting in his favor.
Well, you've got to get this DIA deal done, right? That's got to
And isn't this part of it, though, that they finally were able to get an agreement on this part of it?
Well, yeah, but you've got some other pieces of that still hanging out there. The state has to come up with its end of that.
And the foundations.
And the foundations.
But they're not going to do that, Steve, unless the pensioners
do that.
You can't go to the lawmakers and say, pass this.
Well, and the lawmakers aren't going to do anything unless the foundations do anything. So again, everything feels like it's.
So you've got you've got a lot of plates in the air still there that have all got to none of them crash to the ground. The other thing that's got to happen is the DWSD deal, which is part of the money that fills the pension hole, right? A big part of the pension obligation is tied up in the water department. None of that works unless you have this recasting of the department as some sort of authority.
Well, Kevin Orr supposedly has a plan B on that. I don't know quite what that plan B is. I mean, it's possible he could slap a special assessment on all water customers in all the communities and raise his $47 million that way. I don't think you're going to get Oakland and Macomb counties to go along with this deal at this point because the risks are too high for them.
So do you think the assessment is going to be the easier way to do it?
I don't know. I think it's a possible way.
Well, see, I mean, I think that's sort of silly. They're saying that the reason they don't want to come in is fear of cost to their constituents.
What they're going to get cost anyway.
Everyone's got to get used to the fact that we're all going to pay a lot more for water around here because we got to take better care of the system.
Well, the system's completely broken. It needs $5 billion or more in costs, and I think there's some chafing out in the suburbs, rightfully so, that okay, we'll take this thing over and invest the money that it produces, the revenue it produces, to fix the system, but we don't see really any justification for taking another almost $50 million and giving it to Detroit. That money should be put back into the system to fix the pipes.
I think the idea is that the system has some value,
but that's the question. Does it?
Well, sure. I mean, if we sold it, on the private market, it'd get something. Probably
Would
$1
it,
billion.
with $5 billion worth of repairs
You
needed?
could probably get about $1 billion for it. I mean, it should be worth a lot more, but with everything it's carrying, you could probably get $1 billion cash for that, which is less than what it's more than what the city will get out of the deal that Kevin's proposing.
All right, well, we'll continue to watch these moving parts in this next week.